When doing my research for better reviews of Fear and Hunger, I actually wanted to check out the reviews of the second game, because I was actually interested to know the feedback of the second game. And you can't believe, other than finding reviews with just misinformation inside of them, I was also able to find what is probably considerable the worst review I have ever seen in any video game. Even Mirror itself, the creator of the game, answered to this review. So when I saw it, I thought, man, that's a lot of content. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna read together the worst review of Fear and Hunger Termina.
Bones.
As always, there is the usual disclaimer. I will not leave the name of the review and I don't want to offend this person with this video. I want to show it to you to correct some gameplay misinformation and also to have a little bit of fun together. But without further ado, let's start! Usually, when I start reading a review, I tell you the playtime, but let's do a little game, shall we? Let's start by reading the review. You're gonna write the playtime you thought they had in the comments while we read, and later on we're gonna discover the actual amount. Are you ready? Let's go! Some good ideas undermined by lots of bad ideas. Alright, that's already a strong statement, but let's see what does he have to say. The City of Fear and Hunger 2 Termina is full of lore, gameplay and story secrets, but exploration is strongly discouraged by the game systems. And up to this point, I may actually agree, that's true, the game will try everything it can to prevent you from knowing how to deal with stuff. And that's where the player comes in. The player has to try to uncover how to deal with the enemies, where to go, where to find the useful stuff. Okay, up to this point, I completely agree. Let's see what are the systems that discourage you from exploring. Saving requires a randomly generated and consumable item, or a random item to be used at a fixed number of locations. These are so rare that you may only be able to save once or twice if you don't get one-shotted first per playthrough. Note, there is one location not too far from the beginning where you can trade enemy heads for a consumable save item, but those heads are also the means by which your characters level up. You know, after reading this, I think we could just scrap the whole review altogether. Imagine making a review on Fear and Hunger Termina and not knowing the main way to save your game. You know what, let me explain, then you can make your own conclusions. If you are not playing on Mazo mode, which is the hardest difficulty, you are actually able to save by sleeping in beds. There are a lot of beds across the game, including one on the literal terrain where you start. And yeah, sleeping here is gonna make the time pass. There are 3 moments in the day, the afternoon and the night. For a total of 3 days gives you access to a huge amount of saves, also considering you're able to save the game by finding randomly from bookshelves Book of Enlightenment, and to specify, the first one is random, the second one will always appear after you collect all the books of the game, for a total of 2 Book of Enlightenments, which is a one-time save book, or alternatively, if you find the skin Bible of the God of Fear and Hunger, you can actually use a chalk on New God's Ritual Circle in order to be able to create a save spot. And if you're playing on easy mode, you will be able to use a single spot 3 times instead of 1. Now, do you see the problem? This person didn't even understand you're able to actually sleep to pass time, which should already make you concerned about what we're gonna read next, but let's continue. Almost every enemy in the game can one-shot you, or blind you so the game is a black screen, or cut off your limbs so you can't hold weapons and have to crawl around the overworld, or cut off all your limbs so you can't move at all. Okay, there should be a lot to unpack here. I guess from this part in particular we realize that this person never played Fear and Hunger 1, which is fine, okay. But the point is, very simply, that just because an enemy is present on the map does not mean you have to fight it. If you see an enemy kills you in the current state, why don't you just leave, maybe gather some party members, get new equipment, or maybe obtain some skills from the Hexen? Oh wait, this person doesn't even know how to sleep. Also considering the majority of the normal enemies doesn't technically even require a strategy in this game. Now let's clarify, I only have 200 hours into this game, differently from the first one in which I have over 1000, so I cannot really say I know this game from top to bottom, okay? But in all of my runs, a very viable strategy, usable almost against everything, was always going Unga Bunga on the torso, and it almost always worked. This game, differently from Fear and Hunger 1, is less of a puzzle game where you have to understand what do all the limbs do to win, and more of a traditional RPG where you can also just not mind the puzzle too much and just try to deal with the torso immediately. Also, about the blind discussion and about losing your limbs, I have to say, this game is much more forgiving in those regards. There are a lot more ways you can use to deal with those. Of course, though, you need to put time into the game to learn those ways and understand how to deal with those situations. Or, in the worst case scenario, just ask the community. In my opinion, between a person that doesn't want to learn and blames the game no matter what, and a person that instead is ready to learn, but since they don't have the time they just ask questions to the community, I much more prefer the second one. But you know, everyone can have their own opinions. Let's continue. Even if you keep your health up, you can only get as far as your hunger and sanity meters let you. They count down quickly, and the resources to recover them are also finite and random. Now, this is the last element mentioned that discourages playing from learning the game system. The point is, not only the resources in Termina are much more generous, I sometimes hear people on the Fear and Hunger Discord server saying how you have like 100 meat pies in the inventory by the end of Termina, but also they are kinda not random, cause there is always gonna be food in the barrels, which also grants you a huge amount of food items, not considering also that in some ways you get access to infinite food, such as with the pinecone pig for example. Oh, and talking about the sanity, literally in this game there is a guaranteed accessory called the Battlestone, which is gonna regen your MP in battle, which basically gives you an infinite access to the sanity. Really, all I see in this moment is this person didn't want to invest too much time and blamed the game for it. And I still did not reveal the playtime! But let's continue. Now it might be, as it was for me, that you are intrigued by this brazen hostility and the depth of secrets that you can uncover by making different choices. And yeah, there are decisions you can make and things you can learn about the game to subvert its punitive systems, escape death, and change outcomes for other characters. So okay, at least this person understands there are ways to do that. Wait, there is more.
But it gets worse.
Before it gets worse, let's actually confirm, yes, this game, one of the peculiarities of this game and of Fear and Hunger 1, is the possibility of changing the outcomes based on the different choices you make, and in general the possibility of going wherever you want, whenever you want. But now, let's go to the part where it gets worse, okay? The author designed the game to be like one of those really gross really gross H games, where the heroine is R to death by monsters? Huh? Alright, no, we're not doing this anymore. We are not doing this anymore. Goodbye, goodbye. I don't care anymore. I don't care. This is not worth it. This is not worth it. Before saying anything, let's finish the paragraph, okay? Not every death, and not most deaths, but the ways you meet your end in this game are horrific, disgusting, and depressing. And I say that as a longtime fan of survival horror. When your characters are killed in this game, the author doesn't have the good taste or the horror acumen to understand that less is more. It is intentionally difficult to watch. There are plenty of scenes in this game that you will not be willing to sit through. Alright, the paragraph is finished, now we can actually talk. So, first of all, in the game, if I recall correctly, there are only 2 moments in which you may consider there are R moments, okay? The first one is if you lose against the coin flip of Poe, which is an enemy that appears only later on, and the other one is an implied scene if you sleep in the Mayor's Manor with Abella, where you're gonna get assaulted by Caligula. But in there, after you fight him, you just get a game over. You don't even see anything. Now, to be precise, I perfectly understand some people may consider these scenes gross, but calling the whole game an H game where the heroine is R to death by monsters just because of this seems to me too much of a stretch, honestly. And also, I have another thing to say. You are saying that the ways in which you meet your end are horrific, disgusting, and depressing. Where exactly that is a problem? The game wants to create those situations in you. The game wants you to be tense, horrified, etc. Like, what is the problem? Do you know what was my reaction to sawing off a limb for the first time in Fear and Hunger 1?
What is this rumor? It gave me... Oh my god, it was so...
I was literally horrified of it. It worked so well. Where is the problem with that? Even in the discussion about less being more, it's not like it's always like that. There are some moments in which you have to give less, there are some moments in which you have to give more. But in this sector in particular, I'm not an expert, so I'm gonna stop right here and we can continue with the review. The tragedy of all this is that I want to explore the town and I want to find all its secrets, but the game's punitive systems and lack of saves cut every run pretty short. I don't even think there is a way to save all the characters. That might be interesting in another game, but this author doesn't deserve credit for making you make tough decisions. Further, the game's long, depressing and gross death scenes, as well as its promises of child abuse, always makes me think twice about trying again. I don't want to waste hours of playing because of something I did or didn't do at the start of the game, or because of a bad RNG roll. I was intrigued by the world, became gradually less interested the more I experienced, and now I don't even want to play anymore. With this part, honestly, I agree. Like, he just said, I don't want to play this game, just don't do it, it's not a problem. The problem comes, and one of the main reasons for which I make these videos comes when someone actually spreads misinformation about the game, like having only one or two save for the whole run. And also I do this because I want to hear your opinion on it. But you know, since the first part of the review is over, I think it's time to tell you the playtime of this person. If you still want to guess, pause the video because here I come.
5.3 hours.
Now, don't misunderstand me. 5 hours of playtime is a lot of time, especially if you have time or not to invest into games. But that's really the problem, because in 5 hours this person did not figure out you can sleep on beds and has this very weird take about the gross scenes that make the game an H game. And I can't wait of being able to read how much time did you think he invested into the game. But anyways, let's jump into the second part of the review, which is, could this game be fixed while still being true to its vision? Alright, we're gonna get some suggestions. Miro, take notes. This is top tier information. Let's go. In my view, yes. Yes, it could. First, don't promise child abuse at the start of the game. Apparently there is no depiction of it in the game, so don't talk about it. I don't even like writing about this. Wait a second. Didn't this person say... Note, there is one location not too far from the beginning where you can trade enemy heads for a consumable save item. Okay, so he met Pocket Cat. What does Pocket Cat do when you meet him the first time? Oh, that's kinda important. Pocket Cat is literally mistreating a child when you meet him! He's literally punching the sack with a child inside of it! What do you mean there is no child abuse? And also in the orphanage there is some implied child abuse with the orphans. What do you mean there is not... Whatever. Let's continue because this one is a stupid point. I don't care. This one is a stupid point. I'm not saying the person is stupid, but this point is stupid. Cut out or tone down most of the R horror. Some of the written descriptions could be omitted or rewritten to leave more to the imagination. Lots of death scenes go on for too long. Some death scenes should cut to black before they become too graphic. Read. They should end sooner instead of lingering on suffering. And last one, related, don't make us helplessly watch characters struggle for extended periods of time. If they're just going to die horribly. Just get it over with. Okay, I want to answer to all this stuff with one particular death scene, which really made me appreciate Fear and Hunger 1 even more. The Elite Guard death scene. You know why I love this death scene? Because if you're able to escape from the attacks of the Elite Guard, you're able to see a door, and once you reach the door is gonna be locked. There is no way to escape. The game made you think there was hope to actually escape from the dungeon, from everything and still live a normal life. But there is not. This is one thing I really appreciated about these games. They are able to always give you the possibility of thinking that there is hope for something, and then just crushing it immediately. And I think this was transposed in a decent way even in the second game, where for example, if you get crucified, you are still able to survive thanks to August, but you're still missing your legs, so it's still a very hopeless situation. Or even when you fall down the well, where the woodsman is gonna save you but only after killing Tanaka, so someone is still gonna die because of your choice. The game never gives you hope. The game gives you a prolonged suffering. Because of these reasons, I think the scenes are fine as they are. But now let's continue with the ways to fix the game. Unblockable dismemberment and roguelike elements don't mix. It only makes players want to end their run or stop playing entirely. If you want to keep dismemberment in your game, then the items that prevent it should work 100% of the time for all fights. And where is the problem? They don't. They don't work all the time? My friend, the thing you may not know is, in this game, there is no 10% protection against arm loss or 20% protection against leg loss, no. You are either vulnerable or immune to them in this game. You can use stuff such as Perfect Guard, you can use the Fluted Armor, you can use the Salmon Snake Rune. Once again, this is a situation of a person talking without know the stuff they're talking about. Also, not considering if you get early on a limb cut off, you can still recreate it by using a Sigil of Sylvian on an Old God circle. Don't make magic attack cost mind, sanity, in the default play mode. Save it for the hardest mode. What? So you want me to go around getting Black Orb from the Hexen and then just start annihilating everyone with a zero-cost Black Orb in normal mode? Spells from the Hexen are one of the most broken things in the game. They are balanced around their cost. They are a cost for a reason, otherwise you could just use them randomly how you want. Well, how did this person even consider this a way to fix the game? For the easiest game mode, remove the mind and body meters! Hunger and sanity meters entirely! There is enough balls in the air, including monster balls, without these problems to deal with. Well, do you want just the Subnautica mode where you don't have either the hunger or the water? And then what do we do with the enemies that actually deal damage to your mind? They just do nothing? I don't recommend you play this game unless you are completely desensitized to human suffering, or maybe if you work in an animal processing plant and are in need for the work. You see, the point is that this is a horror game at the end of the road. So, specifically if you care about human suffering, you should play this game. Because if you're playing a horror game and you don't feel horrified, then why are you even playing? Alright, the review is over, but now the discussion continues in the comments, because the actual Chad, the developer of the game, Orange, Miro Haverinen himself, answered to the comment. We are not gonna write this, but I will leave it on screen in case you want to do that. But basically what he's saying is that, as the person itself mentioned, they are mentioning sins that they didn't even see. Which makes the question even more ridiculous. They are lamenting because of sins they did not even see. And I think a lot of reviews come from these moments in particular, where people, more than playing the game itself, watch and read other people's opinions about it, and maybe people with not even a lot of hours of experience in the game, and from that moment onward they will always believe into that and not care about actually questioning it and seeing if it's actually true. Like, in one of the comments under the review, the person itself says, I have read other users' mixed reviews of the series, so I know what's in the first game. No! You don't know what's in the first game! My whole bad reviews series confirms that there is a lot of misinformation on the first game. And after reading this comment, I think we may conclude that the misinformation is present also in the second game. Alright, the review of today is over, guys. Remember, you can still absolutely disagree with me, and I don't want to offend this person whatsoever. But now it's your turn. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think about this bad review. And for now, I was Frapollo94, and I will see you next time.